Hello everybody, it's What If Wednesdays and we're here talking more Marvel Studios What If for episode 4. What if Doctor Strange lost the love of his life instead of his hands? This is going to be a fun one to discuss, guys, and if you guys are new here, well, you know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep talking Marvel and all sorts of other geeky content over here on a daily basis. I cannot wait to hear your guys' thoughts on this episode, and in general, comment down below your guys' overall thoughts. So let's talk about this in full spoiler details, because this was a more smaller scale in terms of little things, and of course when you get to the mysticism it gets a little bit bigger, but when it comes down to the what if nature, it really much was more on the what if nature of Doctor Strange. It kind of montages a little bit of the typical movie that we already saw, but instead, of course, diving into what if Doctor Strange lost the love of his life, which is the Christina Palmer character, which is of course still alive in the MCU. We know we'll see her in Multiverse of Madness because she has been confirmed. But in here, you know, he didn't lose the loss of his hands, he lost that. And how does that drag one person into one direction? Now, let's get one of my cons out of the way. I haven't believed in their relationship yet, because again, we've only gotten one film with her in it, and their interaction was good, but nothing to this point. You know, we see more of why she loves him and why she wants him to be the best and why she sees the best in him. And by the end, you know, we see certain things of that and how he kind of comes to be, but in the same sense, he is still the same Doctor Strange by the end and more taking on the mysticism. But seeing this different point of view of, you know, this death he feels responsible for, and in general learning all these tricks and stuff, being trained under the Ancient One, well, when he has the power of time and he has the Time Stone, well, what does he do? He thinks, I can go fix this. I can bring her back to life. And we see that regret and pain inside him during those moments. And first off, again, just as something I always mention during these what if is I'm loving the animation. I'm loving how they're bringing this all to life. And one of the biggest aspects I'm loving is, especially in this episode, the way they brought the magic to life. It very much reminded me of something like Fantasia, Disney's Fantasia back in the day with Sorcerer Mickey. It brought that element to really kind of hone in, and I kind of adored that. And something I've really much been atoning this What If series to is the Twilight Zone. It very much still feels in that vein, but every single episode is stylized in a different genre, different character, and a different moment in time that we have already gone through. And I'm liking the twists and turns. And even though this one didn't have the most twists and turns as, say, the last few episodes of What If, it still hit an emotional crux that I'm actually really interested to see if this ends up tying in either later down in What If, but also especially in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, because there were quite a few Easter eggs and a couple things that I picked out that we're going to talk about real soon. But I did like how, you know, we see him going back and trying to fix this and trying to heal her and trying to bring her back to life and change. But it was just that point in time was too important, that time just does not let that happen. It doesn't allow it, because at the point in time that it was so important, because this was his direction to seek out the mysticism for him to become the Sorcerer Supreme. Of course, the Ancient One comes in, tells him all this, he does not believe it, and she splits the two timelines in half, which was kind of a big twist, because I didn't see that coming. And seeing how we see the evil Doctor Strange, quote unquote, go to learn all about this, try and figure out what is going on. And, you know, he learns this mysticism. He learns that he needs to harness all the power, and he summons this octopus god, which again, we saw in Captain Carter. And I've been saying it since that first episode. That very much reminds me, the only MCU Marvel octopus thing that I know of is Shurma Gorath. I think that's how you say his name, but at least Gorath, the giant one-eyed octopus creature. And I've been saying it. I know the rumors might be out there that he might be showing up in Multiverse of Madness. This is twice that we have seen him in What If. I'm still sticking to it that is him, whether in some way, shape, or form. But still, it's too powerful for Doctor Strange, so he has to start small, start gaining abilities from there. Starts with a little gnome, starts with some other things, and then we see him sucking a dragon, and his face becomes a little bit Mephisto-like, which I sat there going, that couldn't be a coincidence, right? I wasn't the only one that went, Mephisto. I mean, I don't think Mephisto's showing up at all in the Marvel Universe whatsoever anytime soon. I know some people have had the predictions that maybe Doctor Strange in Spider-Man No Way Home is not really Doctor Strange. No, come on, guys. That's Doctor Strange. He's an arrogant asshole. He knows what he can do. And I love the character for what it is. But, you know, in that particular moment, come on now. come on now. We know what's going on, but I really like that moment of seeing him suck in all these different creatures and trying to figure out what is so important. Now, going back to this, then we see that twist that no, she actually split 2 timelines to live in the same exact moment with a good Doctor Strange and a bad Doctor Strange, because the only person that can defeat this version of Doctor Strange that might destroy the entire world is the one that we know and love. Of course, we see this split. We see the Ancient One come and say, this is the end of time. You must go stop him. And seeing them battle was very intense, very enthralling. And again, goes back to that Fantasia look of the animation, the magic, the mysticism, very much keeping you on edge the entire way through. But throughout this entire story, the thing that, again, was the whole line, that emotional crux of trying to keep Christina Palmer alive. And for me, it still hit very hard by the end of seeing where evil Doctor Strange had gone. He went to all lengths to save her, and when he finally did, he was not the same person that she had fallen in love with. And at this point in time, the world was coming to be destroyed, and the only way to save it was pretty much to stop everything that he had done. You know, this is kind of the whole thing, and seeing how he sees the Watcher, and the Watcher actually comes down, not to interfere, but to let him know, I can't do anything. This is up to you. You were the one that knew this, you got the warnings, and that was the first time that he's actually interacted with these characters. So that's going to be interesting to see if we see that down the road again. Because with this What If, the whole entire season 1, every episode's different. And I'm waiting to see if it ever connects, because some of the things we see in the trailer make me think that it will. But I love that moment, and I just love how this episode ends in a very melancholy, subdued and somber moment that wasn't a happy-go-lucky ending, and kind of ending in a depressing manner like last week's episode. In fact, if we look at each and every one of these What If episodes, each of them end in a pretty somber moment. I mean, the first episode we get, you know, Captain Carter loses Steve Rogers. She goes through the portal and comes back. And while Nick Fury kind of has that hope of her, there's still some darkness there. Then in the second episode, you know, everything goes good for T'Challa, but in the very end, Star-Lord's dad comes to pick him up, and where does that lead us? In the third episode, of course, there is some optimism, of course, with Captain Marvel and Steve Rogers still being there, but the rest of the Avengers have perished. They're dead in this world, and Hank Pym is belittled to be this villain. And now we're in this one where Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, this evil version of him, kind of lost everything. I really dug this episode. It's not my favorite one. It's probably my third. Like, if I'm ranking them, it would probably go 2, 3, 4, 1. But overall, this was a very satisfying episode. I'm looking forward to diving into it a little bit more, seeing what your guys' thoughts were down below in the comment section. What Easter eggs did you pick out? What was your favorite moment? What is your favorite What If episode? And just in general, guys, thank you so much for clicking on this and having a great time with me. I had a blast. It's midnight. Well, past midnight at this point in my time range. But I'm excited to have this discussion again with you guys. So again, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys next week for What If. And of course, until next time, stay classy.